Hi, we're here at Emergent Abundance Farming Collective in the Heart Garden, and I'm going to show you today how we are seeding so that it's really easy to maintain a relatively weed-free garden. First, we have to clear up the space, and this little plot here, this is plot number 24. We had covered it with the leaves to protect the soil in the winter and to feed all the beautiful microbes in the soil. I'm just taking this off right now. And since these are just leaves, we can just add them to our compost pile. So next I'm going to take out any little weeds that are still present. It's not very much because we had effectively covered it and kind of kept all the weeds from growing. Purposefully not disturbing the soil too much. I'm just loosening it where I need to remove these weeds, because last year we already double dug it with a broad fork, and we want to disturb the soil structure as little as possible, because that way we're keeping all the pores open for air circulation and for the microbes to move through, for water to trickle through. The more we disturb it, the more we collapse an already amazing living structure. So, doing a little bit of spot work here. I like the crumbly structure of the soil, the tilth of the soil, because we had the leaves on. It's a very good, I can see that it's an alive soil. There's worms in there, there's different insects living in there, and I can tell that from that beautiful crumbly tilth. So one way to make sure that it's really easy for us to maintain the crops that we're seeding and to stay on top of the weeds is to make sure that we have tools that we can use in the field and that we're seeding it so the tools are actually usable. So this tool here is called a stirrup hoe. It's kind of because it looks like a stirrup if you want to, mount a horse. And the way it works is you pull it, you put a little bit of pressure on and you pull it straight through the ground like this. Now, before I do any seeding, I want to mark the rows where I want to seed, and I'm using this tool as a guidance to see how far apart my rows should be. So I can lay it down here, and I will give about an inch and a half on each side to make sure it easily fits through in between the plants that will be growing. Put this down, and then I prepared these little pieces of rope. It's just a piece of rope on a ground staple, and I will use this rope to mark my row. And I go nice and parallel to the edge of the bed. And I can shorten it just by twirling it around and then having the right length. You want to have some nice tension on it. There we go. And then the next one will be at the same distance. It's about like at least 8 inches, and my hand just happens to measure exactly 8 inches, so I can always use that. But you can make yourself any tool. Trowels often have a little measuring guide on there too. Make sure it's parallel again. I'm going to keep going. In these beds we can get about 4 rows like this. So next step will be to seed. And I like to use this tool or a similar tool for that to make a little trench in the ground right along the line that we are marking the row with. And going to just make it like a shallow little trench. Seeds like to be planted at about 2 times as deep as they are big. So these are small seeds. This is lettuce, and they're not very big. They're about a couple millimeters large. They're not very large at all. And so we make sure that this trench has kind of good firm surface underneath, that the seeds don't fall right into some cracks. And now with the lettuce for the spring, I'm going to place 2 seeds about every 8 inches, 2 or 3 seeds. Just like this. Remaining seeds back in the bag. Not so easy today. And then I cover the seeds with nice crumbly soil, and it doesn't have to fill the entire trench, because it's actually beneficial if we're catching a little bit of water by creating this light indentation in the ground, so that the channel that we created for the seeds will actually stay a little bit more moist. Can lightly press this down, not much at all, just like light tap, because we want the air also to be able to get in. And then the last thing we'll do is to put a little bit of water the seeds in, and then we can add back a very light coating of mulch. This is not the kind of mulch that you use to suppress any weeds, but it's actually so light that it just creates a little bit of a moisture microclimate in here. Any water that wants to evaporate from the soil will be caught in the leaves and kind of circulate back down, and that will help with a nice even germination. This is a bed of garlic we planted last fall in late October, and now it's the middle of March, and it's been a really warm winter, and the garlic has already grown really beautifully, and so have the weeds in between. So I'm going to show you how to use the stirrup hoe to clean this up a little bit. And what we did last fall when we planted the garlic, we drew lines with some rope, measuring exactly a little bit wider than the stirrup hoe, with a plan of being able to use this as a weeding and cultivation tool. The first thing we have to do here is remove the drip tape that's laying down. This is for watering. So we can just move it to the side and then we can move it back in. So the drip tape is something that you can, if you have two people, it's the easiest. You have one person on the other end of the bed, put some tension on and lay it right between the plants once you're done with the cultivation. So using this tool is kind of like a double-edged blade, and you try to get it just underneath the surface of the soil, maybe about 1/2 inch deep, and cutting through any roots and thereby like cutting off the water supply of the weeds, and they will lay on the surface and just dry up. So you want to make sure you do all the rows. So you start from the edge of the bed here, putting pressure on, moving backwards as you go, and you go over in between these two rows of garlic, putting nice pressure on. You can wiggle it. Sometimes these are also called hula hoes or wiggle hoes, because you can move back and forth. It cuts in both directions. If, like right now, because we haven't done this all winter, they might get clogged up if there's a lot of plant material, then you can just shake it out and keep going. You're really kind of cutting through the soil, slicing through the soil as you go. And with the garlic, what we want to do in the second step is come through and do some hand weeding in between the plants. But that amount of hand weeding will be cut back considerably now that we have all the parts in between the rows already taken care of. So this is how this looks. Then we come around the other side and do the same in this row. If you do it regularly, it's quite less work, because you won't have to cut through big plants like this. So it's worthwhile coming through maybe every 2 weeks, and it will be pretty easy and smooth. And as I said, on the other side, remembering to do the outside as well. And now this won't look as clean as you may hope for, because we have a lot of plant debris that will be laying on the surface. But if you come back like 2 days later, all that will have dried, and it will look like, somebody was here and weeded. And that's it.